sometimes you have to take a step of faith blindly.
Yep.
Like, you don't know what's next. You don't know when your build out's going to be done, or when, the patients that you're going to have, or maybe you're hiring an associate, who's that going to be, or your next or first CA. And you have to take the steps to prepare for that and to just really take that step of faith, knowing that it's going to work out.
All right, chiropractors and chiropractic students, welcome to the Family Practice Podcast. The one you've been waiting way too long for, because this podcast will actually stay focused on chiropractic. Not only what it takes to get world-class clinical results for kids and families in your community, but also what it takes to build a legendary, incredible family practice that takes care of your family way beyond your dreams. I'm Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be joined by Dr. Matt Hill, Dr. Allie Wright, Jackie Jacobowitz, and incredible guests, chiros, associates, CAs, all these folks making massive impact around the world. We're going to cover everything: pediatric, perinatal, family practice. This is the podcast you've been waiting for, because moms and dads and families have always needed us. Now they're finally ready for us. I hope you're ready for the Family Practice Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to the Family Practice Podcast, everybody. Today's episode is a special one. I'm sitting down with two of our very own co-hosts, Dr. Allie Wright and Dr. Jonah Wright. They are PX docs and a husband and wife duo who are passionate for pediatric and family chiropractic, and don't want to forget perinatal in there too. Prenatal, perinatal, whatever it is, they are in it. They love that. So we're excited to have them here today. Their stories are very, very unique, but maybe similar to a lot of you. I'm going to give a little intro here, and so I don't want to embarrass you all, but I think this is really cool to do on the spot, maybe put you on the spot. Dr. Allie, your story starts with moments of being born. You were adjusted seconds, if not minutes, after being born because your dad is a chiropractor. And so you didn't just learn about holistic living, you lived it. Then you went to college as a D1 athlete. Oh, that's cool. D2. You didn't need to say that. It says D1 in my notes.
D1.
Okay, so two athletes here, and she just realized how vital neuro-based chiropractic was to her health. So, in a way, just kind of got shuttled in to being this chiropractor with that. Now, Dr. Jonah, you grew up on the other side of the spectrum a little bit. Western medicine, well-meaning doctors, but didn't have all the answers. And you have actually triplet sisters, which is really cool, too. But when you saw some struggles with developmental delays and chronic health challenges when you were younger, and then told they're just going to grow out of it, you were in that world saying, hey, I want to help people. I don't know what's going on here, but they deserve something different. And so then you shadowed a chiropractor. Well, that chiropractor happened to be Dr. Allie's dad. And that encounter really changed everything. So then you guys went to Life University. And that's really where pediatrics, perinatal, that world really came together. And now you guys are living your dream. I don't want to get too far into it, but, you have been amazing associates that I've got to work alongside, serving families, and now getting ready to open your own practice. So welcome to the Family Practice Podcast, Dr. Allie and Jonah Wright. Let's dive in. And this full-on interview style, I want to hit some tough questions, right? Like, why did you name your first child, right? No, just kidding. Just kidding. They have one beautiful baby girl who we love. She's like our practice mascot for a while.
She is.
I don't know what we're going to do. But let's go back before that. Before you knew you were going to have a beautiful baby, back to Life U. What were the early conversations between you two that really just kind of put you in this pathway of like, okay, what do I want my purpose to be? What do I want my practice to be? Because so much of people listening to this, they might be a student, they might be just graduating, they might be even wanting to shift their practice. They're having these conversations too. What did that look like to get your mindset into the direction you're going?
Yeah, I think really early on, like from the beginning, I think our chiropractic mentors were really awesome. I know her dad, Dr. Todd Boggs, and then so many other chiropractors along the way through our college life and early on have been huge mentors to watch people on fire that love their job. And I think that was a big thing early on where we wanted to have that experience. We wanted to be in a job that we loved and be in a community and have patients around us that love to be there too. And then second off, I think both of us had a passion for kids and the perinatal side and the pediatric side, and just how can we get to those kids early and build health and not just restore her pain management later in life, but how can we get ahead of some of that? And I think that's exactly where PX came in, where PX's mission and then our mission kind of collided, and this is exactly meshed perfectly.
Isn't it cool how many chiropractors find chiropractic because of like a shadow experience and they see the happiness? I think that might be the number one answer that gets people over that edge to chiropractic school, where they've maybe shadowed in other medicine offices, they've done PT, and they see people that maybe don't like their jobs as much. I don't want to go that far, but yeah, they're not as happy.
Yeah. So I shadowed when I was deciding. My mom's nurse, awesome. So if you got to see that whole side, and then I shadowed a bunch of surgeons, and that was interesting. Everyone was passed out right when we walked in. No really patient contact. And then my probably second shadow, I was in college. I walked in the door and the chiropractor was doing sprints down the hallway. Dr. Lyle, Kocha, and Omar.
Oh my gosh, yes. How do you not be happy
and I'm like,
as a chiropractor?
This is different in here. And his passion and that he came to work with was a huge
and I know him, and I would guess he was doing those sprints at 6 a.m. too, like very, very early. So I love chiropractors' energy, excitement, happiness, and that's what just hooks you. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And you guys just that pours out of you, that happiness. So it's, like attracts like. And so that really got you in there. I'm sure you had that conversation when you were at school of, what do we want to do? Do we own? Do we associate? And I knew you guys then. We were going to some of the same masterminds and things like that when you were getting ready to graduate. You didn't rush to ownership, though. And I know you wanted to. Talk me through this, because this is a big question for a lot of people who are about to graduate in the profession, or maybe even our associates now. Talk me through that decision-making between associate, ownership, short-term, long-term, all of this.
Yeah. Probably one of the hardest decisions to make. And I know that if you're a student sitting listening to this, you're probably having the same conversations. And we, throughout school, really wanted to open. We were set to open in Franklin, Tennessee. We were super excited about it. We were getting all of the ducks in the row for it. And it just seemed like the right fit. Everything that community had to offer, where we wanted to open, it just really felt like the Lord was, taking us to that spot. And throughout school, it was one of the best tips that I've heard and I want to give to all students is like, start your personal branding early. So we, started Instagram. We just really lived the life that we wanted to live outside of school. We started living that inside of school. But what really changed for us was our internship. So we came to PwC to become interns. And throughout the entire internship, we still thought we were opening in Franklin, Tennessee. We're like, this is where we want to be. All of that. And then God had really changed everything for us. One, we were pregnant with Goldie. And two, we just fell in love with this practice that PwC has to offer the doctors, the CAs. And we just both sat down and were like, okay, we have so much to learn. And yes, if you're set to open right out of school, you can do it. But you can do it so much faster if you associate first and you get all of your systems down. You get all, really confident with clinical care and adjusting. And we just felt like that was the place. God had just been like, just kidding. You're actually going to stay at PwC and you're going to completely learn. I know you always talk about what Hormozi says.
Yeah. And there was one podcast where he said, your 20s are for learning. You really focus on that, even at the expense of money, even at the expense of comfort. Really focus on learning, and that'll set you up way more for your future than you even think. So I think that podcast kind of came out right in the midst of us making a lot of these decisions, and that made it a really transition into something.
That was the word I had for you guys, is I feel like you really invested in yourselves. Mm-hmm. You had that patience in the game that like Gary Vee speaks on, Hormozi speaks on, like you had that patience to say, okay, I know we're going to do something special. Even though you might in your mind, you're like, we need to get going and do this and work towards it, right? Because there is that level of work where like you push things back, right? But you spent all that time just investing in yourself. And, in a way it was kind of that hard, easy model where you could have got going to the start and everything, but I don't think you would have had this big grassroots movement that you've been able to build, not just, for your own personal brand to go in and to practice, but also being able to teach and train and work with other chiropractors in the profession. So you spent that time investing in it. And so what were some of the big takeaways, of associating first in like a pediatric office that, I'll just admit, like, we see the toughest of cases and we see the challenging of his cases. And like, you might be listening to this and be like, that sounds fun. Some days it's not fun. It's hard. Like, we love it at the end of the day, right? But it's not, I guess it's always fun. Right?
It's
But it's hard fun. It's hard fun some days. And so what did you learn from some of those experiences, looking back now, that made you say, okay, like,
going right off of that, the unknown in practice is almost the scariest part. So being in an office where you're exposed to everything and you see a lot of different types of cases and some that challenge you, you don't know what to do at first, but you work together. And then that second thing I want to add is the team part. Being able to work with a team to tackle those big obstacles is where I think we've learned the most, is to be able to bounce ideas off of each other and to go after some of those big cases that a lot of offices don't necessarily do. And I think that's given us a lot of confidence to watch us as a team go through it and see that impact on the other side for the kid.
So if you were to pick a category, I guess, and you can pick multiple here, right? It's not just an A, B, or C individual answer. What part of practice do you feel more set up for having an associate like this? You mentioned clinical, but there's also like, right, the operations. What are maybe then some like specifics or things that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know what I didn't know as a student, and now you're like, oh, I have to have this in our practice. Let's give our audience like just the inner workings of like, thank God I know this, as you're a few months away from opening your practice.
Yeah, I think just to set up maybe that answer, I think before you own, I think there should be some things that you can do really efficiently without necessarily having to spend a lot of time thinking about it. And that's adjusting, communicating, and care planning. You've got to be able to do those really solidly before you can own a practice and start your leadership journey. Because once you are now taking on employees, and that becomes a lot more leadership and not just the clinical side. So I think being in an associate, you can really focus on that one section of the clinical side to really get really good at it and focus on it. I think that's been the biggest growth for me, is to have a lot of reps. I mean, to open your own practice right away, everything's slow moving. I remember my first day, I think I saw 80 patients and I was like, here we go.
Fire hose.
Right. So I think that part of being thrown into the fire has come with a lot of clinical experience.
Aren't you glad you didn't finish that day of adjusting 80 and be like, oh, I have to go run payroll right now, and then figure out the schedule for tomorrow, and do those kind of other side of the fence things. So
I think especially coming out of school where you're, 10, 5 in a day is oh man, that's a good day. Coming out of school and having that experience for a long period of time is where a lot of confidence grew for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just like knowing how to be the chiropractor, so then you can be the business owner, is huge. And then to answer your question of like, what are we so happy to know that we know now? Definitely like the marketing side, the funnel side, the sequence side, the posting, and all of that, the system. So that's kind of the behind the scenes things that you don't find out in school, that you don't know. And so, yes, figure out how to be the chiropractor. And then when you go to, own, you don't know all of those things about marketing and about, go high level that we're now using, PX marketing engine, and just all of those behind the scenes things that are going to help you get patients in the door. Workshops. We were able to actually do workshops at PwC on PwC's dime, and not having to just go in and try to figure it all out.
I always tell students, attach yourself to a big ship.
Yeah.
Get your internship and people you shadow. Go experience people that are in growth mode and go doing big things. Because whether you're ready to do that or not, you're going to be dragged along, and you're going to learn along the way. So I feel like that's something we seeked out with PwC, that a team that was on
the
biggest ship that was in growth mode all the time, always trying to get better. And I think seeing you guys do that is where we grew a lot in the marketing side and the clinical side.
Well, and there's a level, and if you're new into practice as a doc, you've seen that 80 patients a day, or you've seen, you're just starting your own business, and it might not be 80, but like you're seeing a lot of new patients, you're starting a business, you're marketing, you're doing all these things. You're tired. Like, it's okay. Raise your hand. Like, it's okay to be a little tired, because that's all new. Like, when something is new, it's tiring. Just like the beginning of a care plan. Like, it is way different. You're making change. You're changing a pattern. You're doing all these things. And so you're tired. And so you need to learn that efficiency now. So now when you go in, when you blow up your practice, like you will, and you see 80 that first day, you're like, I've done that before. That's like a slow Tuesday. Like, come on, like we got this. So Dr. Allie, you mentioned that you wanted to go quick. Like you're the quick one in this relationship. You're like, let's do it all now. To a newer doc listening and feeling that pressure, what is the value of patience that you maybe learned over the 3 years was maybe hard on day one?
Yeah, it was definitely hard. I think I had to put on a lens of I need to be second. Like my rush, why am I rushing into this? So just asking yourself the question of like, why are you rushing into this? Is it ego? Is it that you want to own your own practice and you want to be, the star? Or is it that you want to serve that community right away? Or can that community wait a couple of years so that you can be the best chiropractor and the best owner doc for that community? Are they going to be okay? Yes, they will be. And so really just finding that patience in yourself and just knowing that it's not about you, it's about these patients, TS.
Yeah.
And so just really, and then when you are, and if you really are called to opening, you don't have to do it all at once. And that for me was hard of like, even now that we're in a season of opening, it's like, we have a lens of like, we want to be PWC right away, hard chargers, and that's awesome, but get really good at wearing 2 or 3 hats instead of 8 hats right away. And then those other hats will start to come where you can just quickly interchange those. And I think that will help you most is like just picking 2 or 3 things to be good at and then continuing to add that to your practice. But patience is so important in really asking yourself the question of why do I need to open right away? Or is it a better avenue to take 2 or 3 years in associate and be the best chiropractor I can be when I open?
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. We started some of those things in talking about some of those things in school. And like, those are the things that we want to be solid on before we open. And then back to the internship, I think that's where our eyes were open, where there's a little bit more. We're not quite as confident as we think we probably should be. And that gave us, we didn't quite check that box yet until a little bit later into our associateship. So that's where, I like what you said.
Is there anything that you're learning over the last 2 months? Because you've just transitioned and now you're in like a short-term patience game of waiting for the build out and waiting to get new patients and deploy marketing. Is there anything you've learned that might have surprised you over the last 2 months that you're like, I'm struggling a little bit with this that I didn't even foresee in this transition to ownership?
I mean, I think every day a new challenge is going to come up and your list is going to get longer and longer. I remember when my cousins were opening their office and every single day I'm like, hey, what's on your list? And it just kept getting longer and longer and longer. But at the end of the day, like you have to know again that you can't do everything at once and you have to just start chopping down at this. And something that you don't know, you know someone who does know it. And so that's what we're going through right now and is in this season is that we know we have PWC to fall behind or to fall on of like, if I need to pick up the phone or I need to, put something in the PX community, a question, we have this amazing community to fall back on. So yes, of course, we're not going to know everything. And I can't think of a specific thing right now that we've struggled with in the last 2 months, but the list is long and like, you just need to have those mentors and those other practices that you can go to and you can be like, okay, I don't know what to do with this challenge. What do you guys do? Or what did you guys do when you were opening? So really surrounding yourself with a community of chiropractors who do what you want to do and have already done it. That's PWC for us. That's Living Water for us. That's Foundations. That's The Well. So many people who are in the PX community that we know we can turn to ask good questions to, and they'll have the answer.
So in that, questions comes just where you got to balance this all. And a big thing of balance, a lot of chiropractors that are listening, they might be married. They might be married to other chiropractors like you are. Now, I've been married 17 years. Hopefully it's 17, not 18. Like Crystal, you loves in this. And it's clearly the perfect marriage, right? Everything's perfect. She's not a chiropractor. You both are chiropractors and everything's just perfect, right? Like it's easy. Well, we all know that's not always how it works, especially when you have a child and there's lots of things to balance of opening a new business, entrepreneurship, a growing child, moving, all of these things, they're really stressful. How has your marriage and just partnership of everything grown through this transition? All of these different phases, gosh, from school to associateship to owning to having a kid to, yeah.
That's tough.
I think the best thing to say is that when you marry someone, you marry them for life. You don't just marry who they are in that season, but throughout life, you to internship, to PWC, to now Soulful, it's like we have both changed so much, and just remembering to love that person through all of the changes because you're changing as well. And it's been incredibly awesome to watch him change and grow throughout these seasons. And I've changed and grown throughout these seasons. And so I just think number one marriage tip is that both of you are going to change. So don't stay stuck to that 18-year-old guy or girl that you fell in love with, but more staying towards we're growing together and we're doing this together. And that's the coolest thing. And also keeping your priorities straight of like God, family, chiropractic, right? Your marriage matters more than your practice, but because you are both running in the same lane towards King Jesus at all times, like he's going to bless you and he is going to give you those patients that need you to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so just us keeping our priorities straight, knowing who we serve, knowing that goalie is also our biggest priority, and then keeping the practice third, is going to make it flourish. And we just have full faith in that. And there's going to be hard times. There's going to be times where you're walking through that valley, and maybe you believe in the saying of like, keep the work and the home life separate, but we don't believe in that. Like, we really believe that you need to talk through things. And when you want to bring something up, communication has to be your number one of like, you need to communicate that to one another, because sometimes if I get stuck in a headspace where it's like, oh, he did this, but I'm not telling him that, he can't read my mind. Right. And so those are my marriage tips for that. But you just have to keep your marriage, before your practice, and everything really truly works out.
Yeah. And I'll even double tap on that, because I know you have a really cool perspective, I think, of it. Whereas, a lot of times that work-life balance has been overused in the past 10 years, and I'm sure with being married to another chiropractor, another business owner, where you both do that, I'm sure that it does not just stop when you leave the practice. You're like, oh, it's 5 p.m. Let's stop talking about our work and about our mission and our purpose and all of that. What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think the same thing. Bring your kid, involve them.
Let them see you work hard.
Let them see you work hard. And then, like she said, just being flexible is important too. I know there's a lot of expectations sometimes you can have while working on something by yourself, and then bringing that to the other person. They might have a different idea or something like that. And it's not the goal to just do whatever I think. It's how can we use communication and make that idea better and better, and be flexible in that.
So you're saying you're taking Goldie to the zoo on a Saturday afternoon. It's 3 p.m. You're allowed to bring a business idea up in that conversation. Yes. Okay.
Yes, that's where we welcome business ideas. And
that's where the best ones happen.
Yeah. And I think we've learned that best from Dr. Tony and Christina. They really embody that so well of like, we do take it home because we love what we do, and we love our marriage too. And so when we're bickering or anything like that, we do have to solve it. And then we have to remember like what's actually important too.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So that constant communication about the business and just runs all the way through, right? Because then you love it. Like it's on that.
There could be an unhealthy side, but that's.
Yeah, just don't let it reach the unhealthy side.
Right.
There's seasons for everything.
That's for another podcast.
Yeah.
We will get into all of those details.
Titled chiropractic marriage tips.
Yeah, chiropractic marriage tips. The things, maybe the what not to do is that. Well, that actually, I'll ask you a question on that too. And this isn't what not to do, but this is more the looking back. If you, present self right now, if you look back at, when you met around the Life U period, when you went to Life University, kind of in those early formative years, what's one piece of advice that you would give yourself looking back?
I think I said it a little bit earlier, but attach yourself to a mission that pulls you forward. Don't do this profession alone. I feel like that's when a lot of chiropractors that we see struggle or doing it by themselves, and they get lonely, and that's a hard place to be in business ownership and serving a community. It's hard to do that by yourself. So attach yourself to a community, build a relationship. I think that's where PX has been huge for us in that side of it too.
Yeah.
Now, did you know when you originally got married and that, did you know that you wanted to be chiropractors, pediatric chiropractors, kind of go that route, or did it take a little bit?
when we got married, we knew. Because we met in like before kindergarten.
Yes.
And went to the super,
yes.
all that. Yep. And then I wanted to be a fertility specialist. I think he wanted to be like surgeon, eye doctor, all of those things. And then we were both like, actually, we just want to be chiropractors.
We both kind of figured it out on our
I like her career path a little better than that, though. But still, you guys did better with the chiropractors.
Yeah, because we were in school like 8 hours away from each other for our undergrad, and then we both kind of figured it out by ourselves, and then
did a summer internship together through Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and then
and then we saw Tony speak in California
at Cal Jam.
And that's kind of when everything kind of clicked
for you,
for me at least. Is I didn't know that was even possible, and that just blew me away that's definitely the direction I wanted to do. So that's kind of where it stemmed for me. And where
well, I'm sure you had to pull him. I mean, in a way, you probably had to pull him a little bit that way, and he had to pull you a little bit like, okay, let's get out of this fertility specialist world to find that mission of pediatrics and now perinatal. I'll ask you this question: is over the last few months, you've really, I guess I should say years, because it wasn't just a few months. That's when it came out. But the Perinatal Experience is live now. Both of you played a major role in leading that push and leading that charge with the content creation of it, the hours and hours of research. When did you know that was a bigger purpose for you guys that you needed to do in addition to what you already are, amazing pediatric and family chiropractors?
For me, I've always loved babies, and I've always loved, just that side, the perinatal side. I think I grew up watching like Bringing Home Baby on TLC with my nannies and just like that type. But for Jonah, I think yours is cool of just like you found that's what was missing. Like we went the route of the perfect storm, which is a lot of his family's story of triplet sisters. I mean, obviously that birth was traumatic. And so going that way, and then just being at PwC and being like, okay, we've seen the storm. How can we try our best to prevent this? Yeah.
So I think it was cool how they collided, because hers was a lot of like pregnancy fertility focus coming from that direction. And what my passion was the perfect storm side, working backwards. Mm-hmm. And then we both kind of had a lot of those conversations where how do we get to that kid as early as possible? Yeah. And that's where they collided, where that perinatal phase is where we can get to the health of that child earlier than ever before. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where everything stemmed from. Yep. was that
and learning about preconception early on in school, we both were like, okay, we want to try to be our healthiest selves these next 3.5 years so that we can prepare to have, a healthy pregnancy and a healthy birth.
Throughout the pregnancy, we just documented everything, all the good, all the bad. What did we think we did well? What we didn't do well? And all those little things stemmed into what the Perinatal Experience is now. It started with just a few videos and ended at 70 videos. So there's a lot was added.
It grew. Well, I mean, you've both been very successful. I feel like now you feel like you're probably a little bit in the weeds with opening a new practice. So if you can, and this might be a tougher question to answer, what does success look like now, 3-4 years down the road? What are you still pushing for? Because again, awesome launch. You've learned a lot. You're in the weeds of this practice. Where do you want to go? And what really motivates you in this path forward?
So you want our 5 to 10 year plan as
well? Yeah, give it here. I'm going to write it all down, and I promise I won't steal it. No,
I think we definitely have different avenues of goals. I mean, with PX, we want to continue to grow that mission, to grow the perinatal experience, to grow the pediatric experience, to grow PX docs, and get as many nervous system focused doctors in the world that we can who do what we do here. With Soulful, we want to get it off the ground.
Yeah, right.
But we want it to just be a place where moms and families can come and to just be able to see the hope that they don't necessarily have in this community quite yet. And then, for our family, we just want to be better every single day and really just point towards, what does God have for us? And
be good role models for Goldie. And, create an office that just, I think a lot of what I want for the future is like what our office feels like, not necessarily what it accomplishes, but I know with PwC, a lot of people walk into PwC and they just feel like it's a breath of fresh air. It's their happy place, and that's what I want our place to feel like. And then on the other side of that is obviously care that's awesome and gets kids healthier.
Yeah.
So speaking to a lot of the chiros that are maybe in the same season as you, and some of the best things we can do with stories relate to them. What are some of your, being honest here, a little vulnerable, what are some of your biggest fears right now that I think if you were to share, it would make people feel a lot better? Because you are clearly very well set up for this next season, but sometimes you might not feel that way. So what are some of your biggest fears right now going into opening a practice?
Yeah, I think every insecurity comes up when you purposefully go unemployed for a season. I think financially you feel that a little bit, taking out loans to start your dream, and not knowing enough is another insecurity that sometimes that comes up. Yeah, what we do about it, I mean, pray a lot, and then connecting to our people that surround us, different offices, PwC, different mentors that we have is huge, to have them tell you, you're doing great, you're on the right path, keep going.
Yeah. I think a lot of students have, or people who are opening, and including us, have just fear of failing. What happens if no one shows up? What happens if no one signs a care plan, or no one ever sees the social media or the marketing, or comes to the workshop? And it's just, you have to get yourself out of that fear of, like, I always think, okay, what's the worst can happen? They don't show up. Okay, we're going to go a different route. How are we able to?
You'll just have to go on and get them. You'll have to go and be like, we'll bring them in here. We'll drag them in here.
Yes, but like, if you truly know that God has called you somewhere, it's going to work out regardless. And every failure he's going to use for his glory or his success. And so we just have to trust and know that, like, sometimes you have to take a step of faith blindly.
Yep.
Like, you don't know what's next. You don't know when your build out's going to be done, or when, the patients that you're going to have, or maybe you're hiring an associate, who's that going to be, or your next or first CA. And you have to take the steps to prepare for that, and to just really take that step of faith, knowing that it's going to work out, right? It's going to work out for your good no matter what. And you just have to really know that that's going to happen.
Yeah. That's the part is, like, me, I'm a little more of a planner, so that's a little scary, but that's been such a growth section for me. It was where we don't necessarily know where 3 steps ahead is, but all we know is take the first step and let God do the next one.
And I'm glad you said that, because I know that's all on a lot of people's minds, right? That fear of just, like, no one's going to show up, no one's going to sign.
It might not. Well, you don't show up at your workshop. You know what? You do another one, and you do better marketing that time, or you go out into the community, you go to a gym, you go to where people are that you're going to meet, and you're going to bring them to your work.
And you have a good plan. I think all the docs who are listening to this that have been in practice, we've all gone through that. I've done a workshop for one person. Yep. Like, I've done it.
Workshop for 3 people.
I've done it. Thank God it wasn't more than 1 or 2 that we had to do that. And it got better, right? And you get some good reps with practice on it. So, like, if you're a doc, listen to this. I mean, double tap on the comments and just let some comments down and say, hey, it all worked out, right? We've all been in those phases where you're like, okay, like, I have this much money in the account. I need this to hit. I need these to hit. But you said it. Prayer helps. Planning helps. And just know everyone has been in that spot, because you do have to jump off the cliff and be like, okay, this has got to work, right? But it has. Look at all the people it's worked for, and you guys are well prepared for it. So I wanted that to be some encouragement, to know that even though they are well set up, they still have the same fears that any of us would in opening a practice. Is there any other encouragement you would have for other PX docs, especially young couples like yourself or recent grads who feel called to ownership, but maybe they're not sure how to start, or if what seasonality to it is? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah. I mean, write down your goals, I think, is a big one. Like, what do you want to accomplish? Just dream a little bit. Stay in that wonder phase of what could it look like? And then be honest with yourself on the other side. Am I ready for this step to happen? And how can we prepare ourselves for those next steps? And where do we need to go? Who do we need to seek out in order to check some of those boxes off? And I think that's where a lot of our path has kind of come from, is being honest with ourselves in different situations, and what do we need next? And then God provides, and the next step, and the people around you to make some of those things happen.
Yeah. I say pray for clarity. If you have to fast, do it. We did a whole February like social media fast where we were just completely focused on, Lord, what do you have for us? And that really helped for us too, of just like making a clear, getting a clear vision on what's going to happen. And then stop being so hard on yourself. Like, you don't have to be PWC right out of the gates, right? But if you do feel called to ownership, do it and go for it. And people are going to tell you no, and you just go and ask the next person and the next person, and the next person, and someone's going to have enough faith in you to help you out and to make you go for it. And anyone who's been in your position and is successful is always going to help you. And they're never going to make fun of you, and they're never going to put you down. So just find the right people to have in your circle, and always be friends with people who are better than you, who are bigger than you, who are bolder than you, because that's where you grow to. You don't have to hang out with your high school friends as much anymore,
and you won't, right?
And you won't.
You won't. It's just the fit isn't there. And I think you've said it best, because in that, you've connected yourself or put yourself in environments where you invest in yourself and invest in those relationships. And even though that might be more slow going, you're getting better and you're improving and you're feeling more confident. And now here you are, and you're ready to open. So I love the principles that you've laid out just in observing your life of, okay, we're going to have a little bit more patience, even though you are very driven people. And that's what I love about it, because like, it's okay to slow down. I had an amazing chiropractic mentor tell me this the other day, and he practiced for, probably 40 years, and he's just retiring. He's like, when I had the most growth in my practice was when I actually slowed down and didn't have as much of a plan. When I had the plan lined up, like, that's when I followed my own plan. But when I took back and I said, God, what do you have for me in these moments? Exactly like you did. That's where the growth happened. And so shout out Dr. Roberts, who's retiring this year after 40 years of practice, our first chiropractor. But yeah, I love that advice, and I love your guys' story. I think it's so powerful for those who are on that journey from student to opening, who might have a spouse who's in chiropractic. And there's more to this story.
Yeah.
So we want you to stay tuned for a future episode.
Let's do it.
This is part 1, everyone. Part one. The future episode, we're going to have them back, and we're going to talk about the first 6 months or the first year when we can work on the flights and everything like that. If we can pull you away from your practice, you're probably going to be like, we need to record on like a Sunday afternoon because we're so busy. Or we can talk about the first 6 month or year of ownership, and then talk down all the new business stuff and everything. I hope to not see any more gray hairs or anything for you guys. You guys look wonderful. You are wonderful people. So don't let practice do that to you. Although gray hair is not bad. It just, you close more care plans with gray hairs, I think.
That's right.
Well, thank you guys for being here.
Dr. Matt. This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Part 2 coming soon.
Part 2 coming soon. So thank you all for tuning in to the Family Practice Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share with other docs, and we will follow up with part 2 shortly.
Awesome. See you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Hey, Dr. Tony here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening to the Family Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're looking for more content from us, you can absolutely subscribe to our newsletter, watch exclusive episodes on YouTube, and dive deep into the articles and blogs on our website. All of this is linked in today's show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.